Hello world, welcome back to another Suibian Media Tech, Politic, and Geopolitical News Update. We've got some good stories lined up for today, about six events we'd like to talk about. But first, we have some trailers to watch, and let's see if you can spot the common theme in all of these.
You've been taught that the birthplace of the human race is Earth, but it's not.
Do you know what this will do to people when they find out the truth?
I don't think that most people would want to know the truth.
I do.
Your planet was seeded by brass axe industries roughly 100,000 years ago.
It's one of the most powerful dynasties in the universe. There are three primary heirs. The oldest is Belem. He's the one that controls this planet and wants you dead.
I'm telling you, I'm nobody.
You are royalty.
What about the girl?
Still alive.
Bring her to me.
When the exact same genes reappear in the exact same order, it is what you call reincarnation.
Her Majesty's life is going to change, if she wants it to.
I'm still the same me.
Right now, Belem owns the title to Earth. Once you claim it, the Earth will belong to you.
I will harvest that planet tomorrow before I let her take it from me.
Have you ever seen a harvest?
Never. But I've heard they feel no pain.
You should have told me the truth about why you wanted her.
That planet belongs to me.
Not anymore.
Your Majesty, I have more in common with a dog than I have with you.
I love dogs. I've always loved dogs.
Here we go.
Alright, so that was Jupiter Ascending. I had to see that by some of the same people that shot with the Wachowski brothers, the Matrix trilogies, and also no, not that one. Here we go, next one, sorry. Tomorrowland. Boom, that scene right there. Just lost audio.
Still the same.
There it goes.
When I touched this pen, I saw this place. Someplace amazing. And it felt like anything was possible. And then it was gone.
What do you want?
I want you to take me to the place I saw when I touched this.
Where'd you get that?
I know that you were there.
Who are you, kid?
They followed you here?
Who?
fugitive element. Release her to our custody. You have 1 minute to comply.
Those robots in the black suits, spoiler alert, are reminiscent of the robots from the short story With Folded Hands. Just a little random insert.
Thanks.
Don't thank me yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. Hang on. You wanted to see Tomorrowland. Here it comes.
Great, interesting movie. Parallel universes, global warming, it's all in there. Rocket ship, space travel, alternate dimensions. And then the last one, this is fairly recent, it's a TV show.
If you know what it means to be reborn, a sensate. A what?
Saeed from Lost.
You saw her. But that's just the beginning.
I can feel you. You're not really here, are you?
You are no longer just you. You will start to feel strange things. Anger and joy and pain. Pleasure without any reason. We have 7 other selves now. You can access each other's knowledge, language, skills.
Help me.
You will be hunted. There's no more time. You need to run.
I'm losing my mind.
No, it's just expanding.
Alright, so the common theme between those 3 trailers, Jupiter Ascending, Tomorrowland, and Sense8, is the power of real-time collaboration through the power of the internet and the free-flowing, unfeathered torrent of information. You saw in Jupiter Ascending one of the best scenes whenever they were inspecting a planet that had just been harvested, and their brother appears right next to them, just seemingly appears right out of thin air. It was advanced technology, but he was able to just phase through time and space and appear in front of them almost digitally. And then in Tomorrowland, whenever she touches the pin, you see it transports her physically. They can interact with her in this alternate world. They see her. It transports her to this alternate universe, Tomorrowland. And whenever she touches this pin, but at the same time she's still grounded in reality and can accidentally hits objects and steps in water and puddles and stuff like that. So she's in 2 places at once. And then at Sense8, this is just developing. Just the first season just came out by Netflix. This talks about the power of really having no secrets and knowing everything and anything at once. You saw, and it has Saeed from Lost, great guy. Saw it talks about the characters feeling each other's emotions, knowing what each other know. If you don't know how to do something, simply look it up, which is, I mean, that's the internet, or that's just tapping straight into someone else's ability to do something for you. And they do a really good job of showing that in Sense8 with the different cutscenes and everything. And it was done by the visual effects were some of the same people. The Wachowski brothers are in on this. Yeah, the visual effects supervisor. He's been with the Wachowskis since Matrix Reloaded, and then it also John Toll, who's director of photography. He shot Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending, which we just saw. So good visuals in here. But yeah, that's something to think about. The power of real-time collaboration and how we could best use the internet for a full potential to take back this globe from the globalist and stop this techno-economic collapse so we can work together to be everything we can be. So let's get right into the techno-economic collapse news. First one we're looking at is the cops raided these poor little girls' lemonade stand. They were just trying to, raise a quick buck. Something about wanting to go to a water park with their father or something for Father's Day. It doesn't really matter. What's important here is how this stupid, good for nothing, well, maybe not good for nothing, but he could have been doing better things with his time. Overton Police Chief Clyde Carter, let's say that clearly, Clyde Carter, you piece of trash for just enforcing this. Let this go down in your book of shame. And really, just to sum all this up, we could just say police officers can certainly use discretion and choose not to enforce this law for use in such an asinine application. That's right, Clyde Carter, you were involved in this, and what you did was asinine. Yeah, this isn't the first time this happened. It happened last year, or 2011. Police did it in Georgia. Who's the person of shame in this one? Midway Police Chief Kelly Morningstar. Let that go down in digital history forever, to be shamed forever. Kelly Morningstar of Midway Police Chief. Piece of trash for enforcing, just, the girls needed a business license, peddler's permit, and food permit to operate. A lemonade stand, come on, that's like the epitome of just the American dream. Everyone's run some sort of lemonade stand or sold puppies, come on. But the theme between these two is that this is about people of power and bureaucrats learning to let the buck stop with them. Where does the buck stop? And both of these guys, Kelly Morningstar, after they retire, they look back 20 years, I was just doing my job. I tried to tell them I didn't want, and no, that's water under the bridge. You should have stood up at the time. You should have never stopped here and enforced that policy. You should have kept on driving. But the hindsight is always 20/20. So shame on you now and forevermore for enforcing this, Clyde Carter and Kelly Morningstar. But what's good to see about this is that these girls are learning capitalism, learning how to trick the system early, because we see that they said they will be setting up their lemonade stand again this weekend. Instead of selling it, though, they will be giving it away, but they will be gladly accepting donations. Ha! You know where that little loophole came from. This ties right into our next story, marijuana legalization. This is a common practice in places where it's legalized / semi-legalized medical marijuana or recreational. They'll in order to skirt the banking regulations and federal regulations, people won't sell marijuana, but they'll donate it for a minimum donation. And that's just, a blatant side skirting the law, just a big loophole. And it's frustrating just that people have to do that. But let's see, we have some good news. The feds, they've agreed to eliminate some funds for their for their war on drugs, and hopefully they'll go after some real criminals. They'll actually, you know, risk their lives. Maybe they'll go after some real murderers, or some of the cartels are actually involved in trafficking and crimes that are worse than just drugs. Or they'll go after the legal drug market. They'll go after big pharma and criminalize the CEOs. I bet they would the big pharma would fix their act quick if for every 1,000 people they killed by their products, they had to spend 10 years in jail. They would switch over to natural medicines real quick. Marijuana, again, no one's died from it. That would probably become big business. So let's say we have Ohio legalizing it. Oh no, Ohio, the Green Party opposes legalization. This is probably just a bunch of old, backwards, just decrepit people just waiting to die. Can't see past their pension. Who knows? They're clearly stuck in their time. Massachusetts, there's a forward-looking place initiative to legalize marijuana in 2016. Last week, State Senate President Stanley Rosenberg proposed putting a non-binding question on the ballot in 2016 to gauge how many voters would actually support the legalization of marijuana. In the event of an outpouring of support, the state will have the final decision on whether or not the proposed question will become law. So we look forward to that. Illinois, this is one of the few truly patriotic states that can say they support our troops, because this is prime business. Post-traumatic stress disorder from troops returning home from combat. Instead of coking them up on all these legalized opiates and prescription pills that just drive them further into depression, cause death, suicide, and they're expensive as hell, why not allow them to use, or at least try, medical marijuana to treat their PTSD? No one's ever died from marijuana, so it wouldn't hurt to try. You know, with their mental problems, they're coming back from war that our country sent them to die for. You know, they get back and then they realize their friends have died for nothing, and they were fighting for nothing. They were fighting for a battle that was created by America, and they probably feel betrayed. That can do a lot of things to your mind. So yeah, they have post-traumatic stress. They're confused. I say allow them to try medical marijuana for free. So Illinois patriots, troops, go there. Texas, oh, this is the big one, but this is a slap in the face by coward Greg Abbott, who's too cowardly to just go ahead and push for blanket legalization until he thinks it will boost his public image when maybe he runs for president or something. But either way, he signed a bill legalizing low THC cannabis oil. This allows epilepsy patients who have unsuccessfully tried at least 2 other pharmaceutical drugs, so that means that at least they've tried twice. You know, they've paid money to government and private corporations twice, at least for 2 different medications. So at least after they've gotten their money, then they can try a non-intoxicating CBD oil. But folks, let's tell you right now, this is going to be hard to enforce. Can anyone, just looking at 2 different vials of oil, tell me whether it's CBD or THC? No. And this is about as asinine as saying, alright, Texas, we will allow caffeine, but only in its raw form. You can only have caffeine oil. If we find it in chocolate or your coffee, your morning coffee, or any other thing besides its raw, purified form, that's against law. And clearly that's just a money grab, just because, you know, Greg Abbott is too cowardly to just announce it. Just come out on the internet and say it. Write it on your Facebook page. Put it on Periscope. Write it on Twitter. Something. Stand up for what you believe in. Where does the buck stop? So he just does that. Delaware decriminalization. That's a step in the right direction. The bill intended to strip away the criminal penalties. Wisconsin, Milwaukee, now they're going towards decriminalization, reducing penalties. And Louisiana, man, wow, there's a lot. Yeah, California, they've been struggling with it for a long time. It's too much that's what happens when you see just over-regulation. Look at this, just dual licensing system. What? Tighten up the medical marijuana industry and put more power into the hands of the state government. This is this is gonna be interesting. Colorado, they're gonna vote on whether to continue taxing pot. Right now, this pot tax is used for schools, and it raised about $58 million. So they're going to ask them whether the state should continue to use pot taxes for schools or be refunded to the consumers. And so they're essentially asking the public whether they can keep around $58 million. Wow. That's a lot of money. Yeah, what do you think they're going to do? Of course, they're going to want it back in their pocket. It's either going to go to the schools or go back into the voters' pockets. Let's see. New Hampshire Senate kills decriminalization measure. After a long debate, the New Hampshire Senate made the decision last week to table a bill that would have decriminalized the possession of small amounts of marijuana. Although the House approved the bill earlier this year, Governor Maggie, there's another one for the open internet's book of shame, Maggie Hassan, you piece of trash. Governor Maggie Hassan has said that she would veto it if she reached her death. Yeah, this is just another example of a backward, obstinate politician paid off by corporations and refusing to look forward and refusing to just flat out denying science and technology. So can't wait for her to just get out of the office, either from just death of old age or retirement. Just get out of the way of progress, Maggie Hassan, you piece of trash. Alright, next story. Amtrak engineer not on cell phone before the derailment. Well, that took a long time. The NTSB says they've gone through his cell phone records, looked at all the mechanics of it, and have determined that he was not operating his cell phone. And this would have been a lot easier to see had there been interior cameras in this train. There were cameras that look out, but not cameras that looked in. So that's why they had to go with the activity of his phone and look at the different logs on there. And then, of course, he cooperated with them. It's reported that he, willingly gave him the passcode. He provided the passcode to allow the board to access the data. But this just seems like an example of the Amtrak trying to shift the blame to this engineer. And look, either way, the train was going, here's what we know. The train was going at 106 miles an hour on a 50-mile-an-hour track. And he applied the brakes, and they worked, but it was too late. So that means it wasn't a problem with the brakes. The only thing I can think of is this is a user error, but no one wants to say it. I think he was probably asleep until it was too late. There would be ways to verify this, but they would be highly controversial. How's that, you ask? Well, since we're on the Suibian Media channel, where we like to talk about solutions to the problems, let's get right into the solution for this. Simple solution for Amtrak, and then we're going to move on. Well, what could have happened here to prevent this? Then one of the excuses they gave on the news, which was just laughable, was that a rock like a pebble hit the windshield and cause it to derail. I mean, that, come on. You know, we're not even give that idea any airtime. So, getting right into the solution for this. Multiple things. Two things that could have happened. First, if the engineer was distracted, maybe, or asleep, it would have been nice to, maybe he could have had an app on his phone that was monitoring the GPS location, and, you know, could have alerted him to the current speed, or something could have vibrated maybe on the chair to make sure he's alert and awake and paying attention. But the best solution that could have solved this wouldn't even be news because it wouldn't have happened, is, get ready for this, a reverse 911 call. That's right, a reverse 911 call, kind of like what you've seen in Echelon conspiracy, or Echelon code, Eagle Eye, person of interest. But the idea is that if there were a system in place that were monitoring the civilians in this train, say if there were some powerful technology or powerful organization that was monitoring the cell phones of these people on board. I don't know, maybe monitoring their GPS locations, and tracking their speed. They could have correlated that with the train track and realized that this group of cell phones are all moving together at a speed that is way above the rated speed for this track, which we know is in, I mean, that's in a database. The turn was rated for 50 miles an hour. That could easily be looked up and correlated compared to the current speed of these users' cell phones. And then an alert could have been sent to these passengers, and also the engineer, Brandon Bostian's phone. An alert could have, just like an alert that you get whenever there's a potential flood or a missing child or an elderly victim, this alert could have been targeted specifically to them and said, warning, your life is in danger. You are traveling at 106 miles an hour on a train and you're about to enter a turn that's rated at 50 miles an hour. We've alerted the engineer's gotten a train text, someone check on the engineer, but your life is in danger. Alert. That would have gotten a lot of people's attention. Maybe, you know, one of the passengers, surely one of them would have checked their phone, maybe gone up, just peeked through the window, checked on the conductor, or who knows, maybe the conductor himself would have seen the message and applied the brakes sooner, since it was clear that they worked. So maybe if he would have just applied them sooner, it would have slowed down in time. But yeah, that could have. Now, does that sound like sound technically impossible? No, that would just be a business decision or a political decision. Seems like the NSA doesn't care about these people's lives because they allowed them to die. They failed to alert them to this danger, even though they say they're defending us and the National Security Agency. They failed in this instance. You hear me, NSA? You failed. So that's something we should think about going forward. How secure do you want to be? Ask yourself, if your life were in danger, would you want to receive an alert on your phone or email or a call by any means necessary? Really, would you want to be alerted to impending danger about your life? Yeah, well, when it comes to your life, yeah, a lot of people, they change their ideas about surveillance and data privacy real quick when it involves them and their lives. So think about that. Bilderberg. And this used to be, you know, talk of conspiracy. This used to be just murmured in fear and laughed about by the mainstream corporate media. They wouldn't even admit its existence. But Bilderberg group is now in full swing. I mean, it's out in the open. We have the power of freelance journalism, live streaming, internet, to showcase and track down this group and watch them in real time as they scheme to take over the world. And this time they were deploying high-tech jamming to shut down communications. I mean, look, here's the van, because this is just an effort to try to control information. Imagine your cell phone. If you were stranded out in the middle of nowhere, but there was signal. If someone took your cell phone, what would you do? And then as cell phones get smaller and smaller, eventually it might be in your head, or it might just be biological, and you can just think about talking to someone, and then you'll be connected to someone. But if there's a government agency or a corporate agency who's blocking, trying to prevent communication, trying to prevent that light of help getting out, they're shutting your communications down. That's something that everyone should be made well aware of and alerted to. There's no reason to have cell phone jammers in here unless they were trying to maybe stop a bomb going off, but if someone, clearly it's out in the open, they would just not use a radio signal. There's other ways to detonate bombs. So yeah, that's interesting to watch. And this also reminds us, citizens, you need to be aware of, and we should actually have our own drills of what to do when communications go out. We saw this last year in China, in Hong Kong, whenever the Chinese government shut this. In this example, this is corporate. Bilderberg is corporations. They were shutting down the communications, but in China, the government routinely shuts down their communications. And then in Hong Kong last year, and Taiwan, during their protest, they definitely experienced the government connection shutdowns as an attempt to stifle the free flow of information and light, that all life-giving light of optic fiber that can carry internet. It carries your life force. It carries evidence. They shut it down. But guess what the Chinese did? These millennials, these tech-savvy users, they used an app by a company called Open Garden, and this app allows you to communicate without the internet, and it sets up a mesh network using Bluetooth, and they were able to communicate and pass messages irregardless of what the government said. And so this is definitely something to keep on your watch list. It could help us, whenever we have the economic and technological collapse. And if or when the government shuts down or corporations shut down our ability to communicate, what will you do? So keep this in your lineup. This app, the app they use is called FireChat. And again, this uses mesh networking to, along with Bluetooth or any other type of wireless capabilities, to network devices directly to each other to send messages. So yeah, that's definitely something we've been keeping our eye on ever since the protest in Hong Kong and Taiwan last year, when this was really made popular. Alright, and the next story. Clintons. Ugh. Alright, Hillary Clinton, you lying piece of trash. You have a whole chapter in the public open internet book of shame dedicated to you. This will go down for generations from now until eternity. We'll be able to look back and just spit your name in disgust. Like, you think that you're leaving a good legacy. You think that you're going, after you die, people might think highly of you, that we're going to build monuments to you? No. I will be there to piss on your grave long after you're dead. And as they say, the winner writes the history books. My children and generations after me will know you as a cowardly, treacherous piece of scum who tried to take over the country by running for president, and your incompetence, you thought it was prudent to run your own email server as Secretary of State. Yeah, I mean, come on. As Secretary of State, are you technically capable? You didn't even. I'm sure you don't even know what a Linux is. You don't even know what Linux is. I mean, how do you know what apt-get even? Where that even? What? I mean. And you thought you could run your own email server. So, remember, this was from Hillary Clinton running her own email server out of her house. You know, handling security, the administration of the email server, all by herself, and whatever black budget tech, NSA tech workers she could, you know, hire off to set this up for her. Because obviously she did not set this up for herself. Someone probably, you know, the black budget money, just sign off on it. Well, the excuse that she used last year, whenever she said that the excuse she gave for using her own email server was that she said that she only uses it for personal messages and private messages, you know, between her husband and talking about yoga with her daughter. Well, it looks like Bill just contradicted her, this old witch. And the former president addressed his very sparing email use at a Clinton Global Initiative meeting in Denver. He said the only time he got on the internet was to do 2 emails and order Christmas presents. Otherwise, I found people said embarrassing things on email. Yeah, because the NSA could be watching them and be vacuuming up for blackmail purposes. I didn't want to be one of them, Clinton said with laughter. Yet, when Hillary Clinton held a press conference in March explaining her personal email use, she said her private server contains personal communications from my husband and me. And remember, this was a server that had over 60,000 emails, half of which were deleted by her in a frantic attempt to cover up to the truth. And, whew, you know she sweats. That's what keeps her up at night if the truth were to get out. And I hope it does get out. I would like to see her collapse under the shame and embarrassment that would come from the public seeing her true colors, seeing her true self. And of course, you know, we always like to talk about the NSA and how they could defend liberty and defend American security, but instead they pervert it and sell us out to foreign governments and corporate interests. In this case, it would be, and you know, everything we talk about is not, we don't talk about anything that's technically impossible. Everything is a political or bureaucratic decision or something for politicians and lawyers or marketers to hash out. So in this case, you know, at the beginning of the year, and even now, we should have had these emails turned over to ACLU and the electronic free, the EFF, and because the NSA would definitely have a copy of these emails. They brag about trying to know everything, total information awareness. Yeah. Well, where's your information now? Why not just simply turn over this information? Just here. Oh, don't worry. Like, you know, Hillary come out and say, "Oh, I deleted them. Oops." And it'd be funny if the NSA comes out and go, "Don't worry, we got you back. Here they are." But of course, they wouldn't do that because there's probably damning information in those emails that would come back to get them, come back to the leaders of the NSA and the whole surveillance system. So yep, just another example of how we see politicians abusing technology, and then another example of just how our government uses technology against us and claims they're trying to defend freedom when in fact they're not. They're actively using technology to manipulate us and keep us under. And then the next story, this is great, because this, I mean, we're going into, talking about corruption in our NSA, and talking about our NSA officials standing down or lying in front of Congress, or not doing anything to defend American liberties and freedoms. China just handed down some justice to this guy, this piece of trash, going into the book of shame. And the Chinese, they know shame. I mean, they all about saving face. This guy just lost it all. What's his name? Zhou Yongkang. That's right, shame. The highest ranking official convicted as part of President Xi Jinping's promise to root out corruption. And this guy, this is an older picture, 2012 now. He has gray hair. It's typical for Chinese, high-ranking Chinese party members to dye their hair black as a symbol of power and youth, vigor. Well, what's symbolic of this guy's fall from grace into shame is now a current picture shows him with gray hair, looking withered, just shamed. He's lost face. For generations to come, people will spit his name. I'm spitting out Zhou Yongkang. Cao Nima. And he admitted it. He does not plan to appeal his sentence. He's been deprived of all political rights, and all of his personal assets have been confiscated. I mean, it would be so great if this happened to James Clapper or Michael Hayden. So many top-ranking security officials in our General Petraeus, former General Petraeus. Not only did he leak state secrets, he cheated on his wife. I mean, he's just a morally bad person. He cheated on his wife with his book writer, his autobiographer, and leaked secrets to her. And guess what he got? He got a slap on the wrist, 100 days probation, and $100,000 fine, which probably the book deal paid for. Meanwhile, Edward Snowden, a true patriot, greater than Zhou Yongkang, and definitely greater than Petraeus, Hayden, or Clapper. Edward Snowden is still on the run. He can't even come back to America, his true home, because they won't even give him his day in court. They don't even want to hear it, because I mean, the information he releases is damning to them. It's not damning to American security, national security, which the Pentagon has said his leaks have not caused any damage. The only thing it's damaging to is their reputations, their legacies that they hope to last forever, their monuments that they've built for themselves and in their head. They want people to think highly of them 50 years from now. Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah, where's his statue? No. What little do they know, their statues will be torn down, much like Saddam Hussein's. Their graves will be pissed on. Their children will probably change their names, will want nothing to do with them. And that's the legacy they are paving for themselves. And yeah, Zhou Yongkang, he's right in there. He's living that legacy. So it'd be great to see some Chinese-style justice handed down in the U.S., because we need that. If we could get organized and figure out how to prosecute these people, we could do that. This is something that we could bring back, and we definitely need to bring back public shaming. Put them in the stocks. I think death is too easy. We don't want to execute them for selling out our country. What would be best is to lock them away in a prison 50 miles underground. They will have no human contact for the rest of their lives. They will be serviced by robots, but there will be screens in their jail cells so they can see how humanity progresses without their dead weight. and they will be able to, they'll have all the latest analytics, so they can see what people are saying about them. They can see their true legacy and see the true thoughts of the internet about them and their actions, but they will have no way to communicate. They will just have to watch it and read it until they die, as they're serviced by robots. Food will be delivered automatically to them, or will be rectally fed to them if they have to, so they can watch and see humanity ascend without them. That would be the ultimate punishment. But yeah, that's a fart in the wind. Look at these. In the U.S., a lot of CEOs would be in trouble if the justice system worked. Yeah, they would. I'd like to see our own Department of Justice go after the liars here in the U.S. NSA Director Keith Alexander admitting that he lied to Congress about the principal justification for the NSA's ability to engage in bulk surveillance, stopping terror plots. The Director of National Intelligence lied to Congress about national security surveillance. So, yeah, James Clapper and Keith Alexander, some of the top traitors. My children will know them as sellouts to this country, not as patriots. I would rip those badges from their whatever uniforms they wear. They are the lowest of low of all life on earth. And the sooner they are out of the way, either dead or just out of, well, they're retired now. They shouldn't be able to just sip a martini off into the sunset. Until these people are held responsible for their crimes, it will just be a sad day. And so, while we're on the topic of China, we're going to finish with this last story. China's troubling robot revolution by the New York Times. This is just talking about how there's a lot of people in China, and you have factories that are saying that they're ramping up. Foxconn plans to automate about 70% of its factory within 3 years. And so, what's this going to do for the economy? And this is an accelerated version of what's could happen or what's going to happen in the U.S. as automation and technology reduces the need for jobs. And these old age politicians and just old generations, they can't get past the idea of money and the idea of always trying to raise the unemployment rate or lower the unemployment rate. That's fool's gold. The unemployment rate will never be zero. We will never have 100% employment. Do you guys realize that? Is that a goal? What do you want? 50% employment and 75% employment? The idea is we don't need employment for the sake of making money. People should be able to do whatever they want and contribute to society, as long as the needed resources are there. And so instead of working to give people jobs so they can make needless money, we should work to lower the need for money, and instead we can make it to where money becomes meaningless. So that means we can work to provide free housing, free electricity, or just free energy, which can in turn be used for transportation and heating, cooling. And eventually, if we get into a society that is so organized and so automated that money isn't needed, a lot of these bankers and CEOs, they will just be left standing there holding the bag, which would be great to see. But that's what they're alluding to. That's what they're worried about, because that's going to create a lot of income inequality. It disrupts the feng shui of the Chinese environment. It is definitely not harmonious. And ultimately, these politicians and bureaucrats, corporate CEOs, they're so disconnected with reality that they don't think about these kind of issues. So they're just charging ahead, just thinking about their own retirements and sailing off into the sunset, or hiding out in underground bunkers while the world collapses. Something like Elysium. That's a good movie. That's where we're headed right now. So yeah, we will be talking more about robots and jobs in upcoming episodes. We'll be working to further refine our broadcasting format. We might, right now it's kind of just been random, but eventually it might get up to weekly and then daily. Because this is a good way to wake Americans up and wake the whole world up to what's happening and what we need to be aware of and focus our efforts on, and how we can collaborate and work together to save this planet. Keep watching the daily news lineup on our channel. That shows all the best stories from our channel minus the fluff. So we won't repost the stories about, you know, look at this cute dog doing a backflip, or Bruce Jenner, or anything about Hollywood or entertainment, unless it somehow ties back to the technological and economic collapse. So follow this playlist and you'll get all the best news from X22 Report, Vice, SGT Report, Sam Setter, Ron Gibson, In the Now, Bernie Sanders, AMTV, The Young Turks, RT, Last Week Tonight, Fabian for Liberty, and the Alex Jones channel. Delivered straight to your inbox or feed on Twitter. We repost them there too. And then also follow us on Google+. We are truly starting from ground zero to become a force to be reckoned with. That's going to take back this, well, just not take back, we're just going to bring light to what's already there inside of everybody, the fight for freedom and to be free. You just don't know how. And so that's what we're going to explore in future videos. We're going to brainstorm ways to use collaboration and the internet to work together to change policy, to mobilize and create action. So thanks for watching this news update / vlog / rant, and we'll see you next time.